just let me. I guess I should get started at 7. All right. So I guess this is episode 2, right, of Resumania. Now we're calling it Resumania, and today I'm going to go over some different layouts for resumes. Last time we really looked specifically at content. I guess we kind of looked at layout a little bit, but today I kind of wanted to go a little bit more in depth with different layouts, what looks good, what looks bad, and why. Most importantly, why. So that, you can see a resume and recognize whether you think it works or not. Again, I wanted to do a little disclaimer because the advice I offer is from a U.S. perspective. I know that some other countries, they're okay with using like a little bit more, not wild and crazy, but a little bit more colorful and stuff like that formats. So it does vary a little bit by country. And each country has their own kind of standards. Like, some countries, everybody puts their picture on the resume. And I think if you put your picture on your resume for a U.S. job, people would be very confused. So U.S. based, and Canada is pretty similar to the U.S. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. And again, please, pipe up if you have a question or if you disagree with me or something. I want this to be more of a discussion rather than a lecture. So I have about, this is more of a discussion. Perfect. So I have about, nice. I have about 10 resumes here. I was just planning to kind of just pick one and go through it and kind of get what you guys think, first impressions, stuff. So let's start with kind of the most, I have like some, let's start with this one. It's a 2-column layout. They have a pretty big chunk of an objective on the left, and then their education, work experience, and skills on the right. Yes, please speak up if you can. The colors are blue. Oh crap, do I have my things on? Yeah, let me change that real quick. Sorry if everybody's was confused why it was orange. So what do you guys think about this one? This is kind of, does GPA really matter on the resume? Getting down to, brass tacks, let's talk about it. If the position you're applying to has a minimum GPA, then yes, GPA matters. However, if you are below that minimum and you still want to apply, do not put it on there. Make them ask you for it. It's usually people say include GPA if you're above a 3.0 or a 3.2, and then obviously, if you have like a really high GPA, you're more than welcome to include it. But I think it's really only one piece of the puzzle in general, which I guess resume is really only one piece of the puzzle too. But yeah, so that's my answer to that question. It kind of depends. It depends on, whether there's a minimum GPA requirement or stuff like that, and how well you did. And yes, if you do leave it off, it's usually people will assume that it's I personally assume it's below a 3.0. Yeah, that's just what I personally think. Cool. If you have any more questions about it, please feel free to chat or speak up. So this person includes their GPA 3.46. Not bad. Pretty impressive. So what do you guys think about this resume? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it polarizing?
I feel the banners are a little too big.
Banners are too big. Okay. Yeah, I agree. The banners. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's like a distraction. Like they're trying to make it seem like the resume has a bunch of stuff, but it's just a bunch of distractions.
Okay. So if we look at here, let me see if I can open this in another. Sorry, I don't want to. Is my okay? Good. I want to open it so I can draw on it. So let me do that real quick. What were we looking at? We were looking at this one. All right. So if we look at this, the really only like content, I guess, is like here, I guess like these boxes. There's some content here, and then I guess you could possibly consider this content, but that's like a really, and then, everybody has their university stuff, but that's like a really small percentage of the space on the page, Like there's so much white space that's not really being used. As we said, the banners are really big. So that's kind of like what I think of when I see this. I think that the banners and the 2-column layout don't really help the person like make use of the space on the page. Yeah, I think that that machine without E is right. Is that probably they listed all of their stuff out like on a blank Word document, and then they were like, oh crap, I have all this white space. What do I do with it? So they're like, let me pick a fancy, like maybe a fancy layout to maybe get rid of that white space. Maybe that's what they thought. If you actually look at the text of the resume, it's like worked at a restaurant, worked at retail. They don't really talk about their projects like at all. The only project talk is like right here, and they don't like prove that what they can do with their engineering skills. On the left, their objective, it's like, I am great at this, I am great at that. But if you don't give examples of like how you're an awesome engineer and like times where you've used your engineering knowledge to like, do a project or make a product or design something or, test something, then you don't really have anything to back it up. And I think that's what resume is all about. It's kind of showing your technical prowess with your examples from, school, from your, personal life, like projects, and then from internships and co-ops. How do you guys feel about objective statements? I think I touched on this last time when we were talking. Do you think this objective statement, obviously it takes a decent amount of space, right? What do you guys think?
I think it's too long. If an objective is included, I like it to be short and just to say, I guess, what your interests are. I don't really want to hear you bragging in your objectives.
Okay, so like personal interests or like career?
No, like career interests. I want to move into X industry or X specialization or whatever. Just something, but just saying here I'm a really good engineer. It doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, totally agree. And it kind of seems like a little bit of an afterthought to me here, because they're like, oh crap, like I don't have a lot of experience. Let me throw something down on the page, sort of thing. Okay, so another thing I don't like about this resume is that the contact information is at the bottom. I like the contact information to be at the top, close to your name, so it's easy to find. But that's, I guess, just a kind of a personal preference. Anything else about this resume? We have a lot, so I wanted to look at a couple of different examples. Overall, I wouldn't suggest this. 2-column layouts in general tend to waste more space than just single column. And that's what I mean by that is that this being a column here and then this being a column here. Because then you have, this space in between doesn't get used, and then this space at the sides also doesn't get used. So versus a single column resume, let's do blue, it would be all of this and then just the side margins. So that's my kind of thought of, that's a good point, Chase. The objective kind of does look like a cover letter. You're totally right. I think that they would be best to put that objective into a cover letter separate and then focus more on, their projects and what they've done for the resume. So yeah, let's look at a different one. Let's look at a more not so sure one that's maybe not as polarizing. Let me see.
Oh, can you do that one with the skills bars? I want to see that one.
The general skills, this one?
The one that has the one above the one you chose. It looks interesting.
The one above the one I chose. This one? That one doesn't look interesting. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
So interesting is an interesting way to put it. Again, so this is a programming resume. I find people that do comp sci and programming tend to have a little bit more out of the box resumes, which is fine, but you still need to make sure you're using the space on the page to your advantage. I personally think this is a game of getting everything down on the page. You're right, Jack. It's very overwhelming. You don't really know what to look at first. Of course, the black boxes for blurring stuff out doesn't help, but they have their projects down here. That's probably the meatiest part of their resume, and then a little tiny bit of experience on the right. But everything else could be so condensed. The strengths on the lower right-hand side, I don't really know what they're trying to do there. I guess they're trying to list their soft skills. But I think those are best kind of talking about examples where you've succeeded or you've worked with people and you guys and the project did well, as a result. How do you guys feel about leveling your skills like they do with proficient, advanced, and intermediate levels? What do you guys think about that?
Only if it's measured against something. If it's just them saying, oh yeah, I'm 3 out of 10 in C++, it's okay, well, how did you measure that? Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, I find that it's usually not measured. It's usually just, this is kind of, I'm pretty comfortable with it, I guess. But, if you, ask someone else, they might say something completely different, right? I personally think I prefer listing out skills and then without proficiencies, and then kind of explaining in an interview and then explaining in your bullet points what you've used those skills for. So where you've used Java and C and Python, because that's kind of a better way to communicate what you've done, and sort of because if you do a super simple project with Java, then you assume then the person would be able to say, oh, maybe they're a beginner Java. But if you do a super complicated, oh gosh, if you do a super complicated project, then obviously you're going to be a little bit more advanced.
I feel like I've seen this sort of thing, the levels and the proficiency called out more on software or computer science oriented resumes. I don't know if that's really more common or if it's like a bias that I've seen.
I've also I've seen, like, at least for me in mechanical engineering, I've seen like CAD proficiency. So like you list out the softwares that you've touched. But what do you guys think about like saying the years that you've used that software? Is that more helpful or less helpful? So like instead of like proficient, advanced, intermediate, you'd be like, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years.
Probably less helpful.
Helpful?
At this point in someone's career, it's less helpful because those time periods will be measured in weeks and months, not years.
I would disagree with that, actually. Now, maybe it does depend on what you're talking about, but I find that when people have a degree in software or computer engineering, usually the languages that they know are things that they've picked up even in high school. So they have, maybe on and off, it's months at a time, but cumulatively, it's a couple of years. And I know for other things, like when I look at applying for jobs that have SolidWorks as a requirement or as a preference at least, they'll even specify that they want some number of years of experience. So that is something that employers seem to be looking for. And I would expect that it'd be good to have that on a resume.
True. I think what Laz was trying to get at is in college, usually it's a certain project that you use the software for. It's not really like you're literally using SolidWorks for like at a job for like a couple of years straight. Like it's usually just like a semester project that you used it or something like that.
Either that or linking it to a project, right? It's like, oh, I did this thing in Python and therefore how good at Python I am. Something like that, right? Just to make it like real and like something tangible.
Oh, 100%. You should definitely link your skills into your bullet points so that we know like kind of some context and what you're capable of in that particular skill. But I do think you can kind of sometimes shoot yourself in the foot listing proficiencies and years of experience with software. And let me explain that a little bit more. Like if for example, I learned SolidWorks in college, let me say, 6 years ago. I don't have 6 years of experience in SolidWorks since then because I haven't been using SolidWorks the entire time. So I think it gets a little wishy-washy there. You know what I'm trying to say? I guess, go ahead.
Also, you can use SolidWorks for years and years and say, for example, never use weldments. And then all of a sudden you got a job where you got to use weldments and you're not really that good.
To say, that is exactly what happened to me.
And that makes it even more complicated, the smaller features within the software. But I haven't seen anybody go into that much detail in like job descriptions. I guess maybe I've seen it like a few times, but rarely in my experience. They say like, you have to be able to use weldments in SolidWorks. It's more like you have to be able to use SolidWorks and they expect you to be well-rounded in it. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. So now that we've talked a lot about that, what do you guys think about for the rest of the resume? Should we pick another one, move on?
I think I don't know enough about CompSci to comment on this too much.
Well, that's okay. I don't know very much about CompSci either. But all in all, the way the person uses the page just doesn't seem efficient to me. Especially when they throw that strengths in there is throwing me off. I'm like, why is the font so big? Why is is it just to fill up the page? Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, we're
All right.
talking about what to look for first, and I mean that is some of the largest font outside of the headers themselves, and it does seem weird that physically the biggest thing on the page is probably one of the smallest details worth mentioning.
Yeah, very true. Oh, and we didn't even talk about this. What do you guys think about the hexagons in the background? I don't know if you noticed them. Does it give you a techie vibe?
I don't think I can see him.
Oh, you can't see them? Oh, boo. Never mind. There are a few hexagons in the background that are like light gray. I think that are trying to make it seem more techie. All right.
What's that to the right of the university? Does that say CGPA? Is that like their major GPA?
CGPA, this one here.
Yeah.
It looks like out of a 10 scale, so it's usually, the US uses 4.0 scale. I don't know.
And
Maybe it means core GPA,
core or cumulative
curriculum. I'm not sure. But that signifies to me, the college and university name obviously is blurred out, but that signifies to me that they're not in the US.
I think this person might be Australian. That's a common thing here to say. It's like 8 point. It's a percentage, so it's 88%. Like that's the cumulative.
Oh, cumulative. Okay, there we go. Well, I'm glad you're here because I wouldn't have known.
All right. Well, maybe it's the black box, so I can't say for certain, but that did not stand out to me at all. And I imagine 88 is good, if not impressive. So maybe that should be moved somewhere more central, or maybe the font shouldn't be as light. But in any case, I really didn't notice that until just now.
Yeah, I think there's so much going on that you don't really know where to look, honestly.
And as a small thing, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but having a project within really big text that says "Meme Lord," I think that's kind of funny, but I'm not sure if that should be renamed.
I'm guessing that he's trying to. They're comp sci people, I'm guessing he's hoping to get poke a fun of that, and you can tell that he went for or she. I'm sorry. They went for more of a more individualized formatting. So, that kind of, maybe they're trying to show their personality through it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Maybe they're trying to look for a very specific work culture.
Yeah, maybe they want a meme culture. I don't know. Oh, they said they went to maybe weird. They have a UC San Diego certification, but the Australian GPA. Huh? Interesting. Okay, let's pick another one. All right, now that we've seen kind of let's get a little tamer. Let's do one of these blue ones. Let's go for a one column formatting. Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
So this is a lot tamer than the last one. I really like the font. It's really easy to read. What else? It's a single column format. So I know exactly where to read. It's you start from the top and you go down. It's not like I have to decide between left or right. Like in a 2-column layout. How do you feel about this one? This one, obviously, it isn't like the, super bland, ones that are what are they like? It's a pretty bland one. Like this one. This one's pretty bland. But what do you think?
This one looks exactly like my one, so I like it.
Oh, well, you're in love. Okay.
It feels very filling to me. I'm trying to not make it sound like it's too much, but compared to the last two especially, it feels like it's full,
There's a lot more content, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot more, there's just literally more words on the page for this one. Not as much white space. Margins are much smaller. What do you think about these bars across? Do you like them? I guess Laz likes them.
I know Anode in the chat is talking about they personally wish that the borders were gone and that the headers were left aligned, which I personally don't really care too much. Mild preference towards it being centered, but I can see it being left aligned.
Okay. For us, I didn't mean pretty bland as in bad. I just meant comparatively to these exciting ones that we've been looking at. I think that it doesn't seem like they're compensating, for their like lack of content, which is good. I don't love the like little tiny dotted lines across the page. I don't really think they help. I think they were trying to like separate the like different work experience like items, like the contractor, researcher, controller items. But I don't think they're really necessary because of the indentations. What else is going on with this one? The margin box around the whole resume, like, it's okay. It doesn't bother me. But I don't think it really adds anything. I would like to say this is very picky of me, but I like it when the top margin, like the header, and the lower margin have the same amount of white space, because I think it makes it look balanced. And this one's slightly more white space at the bottom. But that could have been from like censoring the resume. Maybe it fills the whole box. But I'm like, why would you put that box and then like not have it be even? But again, that's just like small nitpicks. It's not going to keep you from getting a job. Yeah. Colored bars on my resume because it adds a bit of color to make it stand out. That's true. It doesn't look unprofessional. 100%. It doesn't. I think if you tried to print this out, the color bars like might not print super well, like the white and the black. Maybe if those were bolded, maybe that would be a little bit better. But we don't print out resumes very much anymore anyways. Do you guys want to look at content for this one? I haven't actually looked at it yet myself. Or we can keep going with formatting. What do you guys think?
I think we can move on to another one for doing formats today.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Oh, also, small nitpick. The last dates on the project experience, their long bar doesn't have space afterwards. It's like little tiny things like that I start to pick up after looking at 500 million resumes. Yeah, I know.
I think there's a typo at the bottom there too.
There's a typo?
Well, in the date for their senior project, they say that their project went from September 2020 to May 2020. I suspect that's
very good. Good catch. Good catch. Oh, man. All right, let's get a different one. He obviously invented a time machine. Duh. Okay, let's do this one. So this one seems to be even more filled than the last one. The left and right margins are quite small. We've got quite a lot of skills going on here at the top. And a ton of links at the top as well. These are all posted on the r/engineering resumes subreddit, asking for advice. So I'm hoping that because it is in public domain and censored, that this is all cool to talk about. But what do you guys think? I think the skills is a little much for me. I don't know if I believe the person that they have like all of that skills. I mean, they just graduated with their masters in 2020, at the end of 2020. I don't know if you noticed, but in the skills, they also list concepts. How do you guys feel about concepts in skills section, like fluid mechanics or problem solving or product development?
I'm a bit mixed on it because I do see job listings where they say we're looking for someone who's proficient in fluid mechanics or something like that. I wouldn't say they're very common, but I do think I've seen a few of them. So perhaps some employers consider those skills worthy of highlighting. Though that might be something that you should show explicitly or implicitly through your experience and talk about in an interview. I don't know how I feel about it being highlighted on your resume in a skills section.
No, good thoughts. Good thoughts.
Yeah, this looks to be an academic CV too, so I don't really think like, those kind of soft skills are really important, like in that sense.
Yeah, it's definitely academic. I mean, they've done a lot of research. That's what all those Google Scholar, ResearchGate, stuff at the top is going. But I think
nice.
Go ahead.
Even. It looks nice and even. Maybe they were just trying to throw a few of those things in there so that everything fills out a nice block of columns.
Yeah, but that makes me question if they're actually have skills like that. The fact that they were able to make it so that all of those sections had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items each, I'm like, maybe you're reaching a little bit on some of those.
Yeah, my concern, if this were my resume, is that someone would interview me and literally throw a dart at that block.
I would do that if I was an interviewer.
Yeah, because if someone just picks one and says, tell me about your experience with blank, can you really talk about that and give a good example of your expertise in it?
Yeah, I think that anything on your resume that you put down is fair game. 100%. If you say you can do it, you have to be able to talk about it. So honestly, I probably would do that if I was interviewed.
I'd personally pick out the hardest one to explain. Like in this one, probably fast paced.
Not to be a jerk, but to actually see do you, I'm actually Are you really fast paced though? How fast can you run?
Yeah, I mean, is academia is not really known for its fast pace. So I'd be like, all right, well, explain this to me.
It is, and you're 100% correct in that. They probably talk about the Baja team in SAE because that's they make a new car every year, so it's a little bit more fast paced. But yeah, research not super fast. Somebody in the comments, I don't remember who it was. I just closed my phone. Oh, Piggy in the comments says it feels weird that the bullet points are further left than the headers. And they did that because they wanted more space, 100%. But I think that if they, cut out some of those soft skills and research skills, they'd have more room to and they wouldn't need such really tight margins. Again, this is all about how to use the space on the page that you have, effectively. So I don't know if you noticed, but there is an objective statement at the top. Accomplished aerospace engineer with 3.5 years of research, 4 published works, and grant application experience in the automotive and aerospace sectors. Is this something you like to look for in an objective statement? How successful is it, you guys think?
I don't hate it.
Don't hate it? I prefer...
Pretty neutral on it, to be honest. It's fine. If you want to put it there, I think that's okay. But I don't think it adds a lot.
I prefer to see an Oxford comma. Thank you, Chase. I am a strong believer in an Oxford comma. It just Makes everything less confusing in my mind. When a resume is this tight, I think you have to really figure out if this is helping at all. They can see that the person has 3.5 years of experience. It's right there below. And do they list that they have a publish? They actually don't list their published stuff, their citations. And of course, the excellence in CFD, heat transfer, and mechanical design. Do they list those things in their skills? Probably. I see heat transfer. I don't see mechanical design. But yeah, I kind of am wondering, like, is this actually giving us more information? I'm not sure. I don't think so. So again, that's something else that you can help use to maybe make those margins on the left and right a little bit larger and make it seem not as, tight. Yeah, I think I guess they go into their published works a little bit into their research like items, but they don't actually say. Do they even say that they were published? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe they just didn't know where to put that. Like, hey, I eventually published that.
Right up there, the top 4 published works.
No, I know. So I'm saying I think that they didn't know where to put that, so they threw it at the top. Which is fine, but that's really the only thing I get out of that objective statement. That's like new information.
Don't academic CVs normally have a section for published works?
Sometimes, well, they can, but I'm guessing that this person decided to cut it, in, exchange for, these 500 skills that they wanted to include. Perhaps.
Yeah, Frost brings up an interesting point there. I see this, you guys do this a lot. It's like trying your hardest to cram everything onto one page. Is that like really important for you in the States?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Especially if you've just graduated. It's probably, so I'd say you could probably go to 2 pages once you have like between like 5 and 8 years of experience in industry. But up until then, you just, what I suggest is just taking out the least relevant items on your resume. Because if they want to go into the research world, I don't know how relevant their Baja India experience is. Like, yeah, it's a cool experience. But is that going to help them get like, a research position? Like their other stuff is probably a lot stronger. Their, actual research items. So it's kind of like a game of, give and take. Thoughts on that? I know that's a very American/Canadian thing. Yeah, you're right, Chase. They do have their ResearchGate and Google Scholar listed at the top. So I'm guessing the reviewer could click through if they wanted to. He should have just printed the URL of his ORCID so the employer. Oh, yeah. I'm guessing that those links at the top are hyperlinked. Maybe they just threw all of their stuff in there and said, "Oh, I guess I don't need to include it in the actual text because my links are right up at the top." No, that makes sense. But yeah, 1 page is pretty is kind of really pushed pretty hard here, because when you've been in school, you don't really have like hard job experience, I guess, like when you are your first employer. So I think people like kind of just assume that
students shouldn't have like a lot of experience up until, a couple years into their professional careers. Any background. They did their master's in Illinois, and they say they have U.S. work authorization. So I'm guessing that they want to work in the U.S. Unfortunately, I don't know what they want to do. It says like what they've accomplished and what they do, but that's usually like a cover letter thing, or a what job I'm applying to is what I want to do sort of thing. All right, have we talked about this one enough? Do we go on and look at a different one? Overall goal, overall thoughts. I think the skills could be cut down. I think the margins could be a little bit larger.
I kind of appreciate that the dates are bold.
Yeah, that's helpful. I honestly I read the bullet points first and then look at the dates. I don't actually look at the dates first. But I think it helps to kind of separate it a lot, which visually is really nice. Swayze says, putting publication information other than published in IEEE on a resume is pointless for R&D industry. I don't know about that. I'm not in the R&D industry, but they do have a lot of their resume is definitely research heavy. That's for sure. All right, let's look at another one. I'm gonna go to this one. Can you see this all right? If it's a little fuzzy, let me know and we can pick another one.
Looks good to me.
Looks fine? Okay. So this one doesn't seem as like quite, I don't want to say like filled, but as like content heavy as the last one. They do a few stylistic things, at the top, and the bars across the way to separate the sections. What are you guys' thoughts about this one?
Right off the bat, I feel like the contact info is way too small. Looks like the smallest font in the whole page.
Yeah, it does look like the smallest font in the whole page.
Maybe it's a trick of the eye. It could be the same as the bullet points and the skills and all that, but
it might be. I don't know. It is small.
No excuse to not make it bigger, I don't think.
I think that they could take out the mechanical engineer and make that font size bigger. We know that they're a mechanical engineer because they have a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering.
You could be a sales engineer or a quality engineer or whatever.
But this person just graduated last year.
True,
I don't know.
true.
I don't know if they figured that out yet. Maybe a couple more years of experience and they'll figure it out.
I also think your other point's probably pretty good here is that this is going to print really badly.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if is like even like having a printable version, like even a thing. I know it's all like pretty much just uploaded to sites and parsed nowadays. But I guess if you like went to a job fair, usually when you go to a job fair, you try to bring some resumes to like physically hand to people and they'd kind of like collect them. I wonder how well this would do printing. Maybe if they have like a really fancy printer, then it'd be fine. But yeah, how do you feel about, what do we want to talk about? How do you feel about the justification, the full justification? How all of the sentences end at the same line on the right-hand side?
Oh, I have so many arguments about this. I like justification, but many people don't. I don't think there's like a rule for it.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like hearing fight it out. Everybody, like, what's your opinion about it?
Like
Um,
my resume is justified, and every document I write in work is always justified. But some people don't do it, and I don't think there's much in it really.
I guess it's just personal preference, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I personally don't like it, but that just might be my illiteracy coming through.
Sometimes it can look weird if it's like if the line is being really stretched out and there's like weird like kerning between words, like it's really like stretched out and funky looking. But I don't think that that happens here. I think it looks like pretty decent. But what else do we got going on?
Actually, yeah, it does create more work for yourself because you do have to go through it and check that you don't get any weird like spaces and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And more work for yourself, but maybe I mean if you like it, then maybe it's worth it to you. Let's look. How about these like the education academic projects experience the headers? They are a little bit the kerning is a little bit more spaced out. They're like a little bit elongated, all capitalized. I think the same. No, not the same. I don't know what font that is. I just noticed their name is actually a serif font. Stuff is everything else is non-serif, which is an interesting choice. But again, I'm not going to not hire them because of that. It's silly. Just something that I noticed. What do you guys? Anything else visually about this resume?
I think it stands out quite well. I quite like it.
All right, I just had this thought, and I'm going to say it. I think it looks kind of like a wedding invitation.
I was going to say it looks like a legal document.
Really?
Maybe. Like those, those like letters you get from lawyers, and they have that big header at the top.
I don't know. I don't talk to lawyers very often. So, but I don't know. It's not like a bad thing. Not at all. But it's just like interesting to see in an engineering resume, in my mind, a way that it doesn't. I would say that the formatting doesn't like overall detract from their content, which I think is key.
I think the margin on the right-hand side is a little bit less than the left-hand side. Obviously, with the bullet points, it's quite a bit less.
Oh yeah, good catch. I didn't even catch that. You're right.
And I think
personally,
the justification would be a bit better. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the justification was a little bit better if it were even.
Yeah. Again, making the margins, playing with the margins obviously will lengthen and shorten the document a little bit, depending on like where the word overflow is. But in general, I usually I would probably tell them to not indent, and then make the right hand margin equal to the left hand margin. But again, I told you earlier, I like when the margins are equal on the top and the bottom and the right and the left. But man, I didn't even catch that. Good job. All right, let's we're gonna go on to another one. We don't have to do all of them. There's a lot. But I won't look at the spider pictures. Sorry. Did we look at this one? This is kind of similar. I feel like it's hard for me to find middle of the road resumes. Like it seems to be either way too much formatting or like zero formatting. This looks like way too much formatting to me. I just downloaded this off of, I Googled engineering resume, and this was one of the examples. Research studies that suggest left texts are easier to read. Interesting. I don't know about. Well, let's look at this one. This one seems very software. Maybe I just have that now. But there's actually mechanical engineering resume. I don't know if I even want to look at this. What do you guys think? Do you want to look at this, or is this too similar to the one that we've already looked at?
One thing I notice is it looks like they're a PE, and I would want to put that up towards the top, not at the very bottom corner.
I'm trying to find it. Where
It's
is it?
under certificates.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's super important. I totally agree. They should. Honestly, I would put PE up at the top with their name, like comma PE. I know that like people have mixed feelings about putting EIT up there because it's like meh, but like getting a PE is a big deal. I would definitely throw that up by your name. And it says something for me to ask you, have to ask you, oh, where is it? I can't find it. You know, that's a huge boost. And I'm trying to figure out, it says that they have, what do they have? Like a bunch of years of experience. They graduated in 2011 with their master's. So yeah, I think especially for someone with at this level, it's really helpful, to be able to sign off on drawings. Like, that's a big deal. Oh, sorry if everybody feels self-conscious about the resume. Including Skype in your contact info is a bold choice. I agree. Who's gonna call you up on Skype for a first contact? Yeah, if y'all want me to look at your resumes, like, it's better than me Googling like engineering resumes and then like pulling one up.
I really, really don't like the blue italicized text for the dates. I really hate that a lot.
It's really hard to read, isn't it?
It's horrible.
It's, yeah. 2-column resumes are just not my favorite, that's for sure. Because that, and then like things don't line up quite right, and I don't know where to look, and I can't find like the important stuff. How do you feel about their little interest section at the bottom? I mean, I think they're like probably management level by now, so they probably aren't like touching anything with design wise. But I thought that was kind of it's very cutesy to me. All right, let's do a boring one. No, we already looked at that one. More boring. Thoughts? Hate it? Love it? It's not as intense as some of the others we've seen. Send me your resume and I can look at it next time. Or if you need it like tomorrow, well, maybe not tomorrow. If you need it sooner than, next Friday, like, we can chat. It's not a big deal. But what do you guys think about this resume?
I mean, I see that they're expected to graduate 2023. Considering that, I think that this is very well laid out. It's certainly a lot more content than I had when I was 2-3 years removed from graduation.
Yeah. You can tell that they really worked at this, in my opinion. I think that it's very obvious that they have iterated this resume a lot. And yeah, I think when I was a sophomore, I was just like, let me do club sports and, maybe pass my classes. But they have a very high GPA. And all of the bullet points seem decent on first pass, not reading it, but skimming them. I don't mind the lines dividing it up. I think that's kind of like a personal preference. I don't think it really detracts. It seems very clean to me. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of like a weird way to describe it, but this resume seems very clean. A boring one, not meaning a bad one, a boring one meaning a less crazy formatted one. Okay, Grayson doesn't like the blue. Maybe making the font section. I don't really know what you mean by that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of see where he's coming from. I feel like the blue might have been an attempt to make it more interesting, add some color, just to do something to not make it bullet points on white paper. I don't feel too strongly about it, but I certainly lean more towards not having it be blue.
A darker blue might be better.
Yeah, so printability is always in the back of my mind, and readability. I'm going to put this blanket term out there, but don't use gray font ever. Gray font is really hard to read. Always use black font. This is fine. I think the readability is fine. But I do agree with Laz is that it could be a little darker, make it a little bit easier to read, in my opinion. Grayson is suggesting they change the font to a different font for the headers, the education, skills, experience, project sections. I think it does fine because it's both a different color and larger font, and then it also has the like ... I don't think you also need to have a different type of font. But in general, I suggest to keep, if you're going to use different fonts on your resume, keep serif together and then keep non-serif together, or sans serif. Just kind of as a general readability thing. All right. Yeah, I like this one. It's not like over the top, but it's also like, you know, it doesn't bother me at all. But most of the resumes I see look like this. We'll talk about this one a little bit. And yes, who's saying it? Yes, for us, this is what I would consider a boring one, and that's fine. Because boring means not distracting. And that's important, I think. We looked at this one last time. I don't know if you guys remember this one. But I wanted to use it as kind of an example for formatting, since, you know, we already looked at content. I like boring because I think it lets your content sort of speak for itself, and it doesn't seem like you're trying to compensate for like lack of content. As long as it's clear and easy to read, you can change, you know, colors and sizes and fonts and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, like, the most important thing is that you get your content across as clear as possible and as concise as possible. And stuff like those 2 columns and rating your skills and stuff, that's just, it doesn't, you know, communicate your experience clearly, in my opinion. It just makes it really harder to read and sort of overwhelming. Do you guys have any other, like, I guess it is 8. So would you guys have any like last minute questions we can cover, or we can stop the recording and chat? What are you guys feeling? What do you feel about using legal paper size for resumes? Weird. I don't know, man. I've never really thought about it. I've always just kind of assumed the, you know, regular 8.5 by 11. I think, do you have issues like when you like upload it, like the PDF? Is it all correct? Like, if I think it looks fine, then there shouldn't be a problem. But I feel like it would be a little
a little strange, I guess, not seeing the the like usual proportions, I guess. I don't know. That's a cool question. I'd love to see one. I don't think I've ever seen one. I mean, people crop their resumes to like sometimes a little different, but I don't know. Oh, Grayson. Sorry. Let me pull up the edited version for Grayson so he can see what we did last time. Oh, wait. No. Oh, shit. This is another person's oh my gosh. I'm kind of all over the place. I apologize. Somebody uploaded this to the resumes channel on our Discord, and this is my response. We did not do this one last time, but here's my response. My content edit last time. Okay, sorry. I think I cut someone off. Did someone want to say something? Okay. Yeah, I can definitely look at yours, Piggy. I like to take a look first before I do a live edit, just to make sure, like, you know, if your resume is perfect, then I probably don't need to do a full edit. Stuff like that. But if it's like a good contender for me editing it live, I'd definitely like to do that if possible. I know nothing's ever perfect. It's okay. Anybody have last minute forward questions? We can duke it out. 1 page versus 2 pages. Yep, this should be uploaded to YouTube, I believe. Yep. In case you want to, watch it over again. Yeah, 1 page is the U.S. Canadian standard. That's for sure. All right, I think if nobody has any more questions, I'm gonna go and finish my Pokeball. All right. Let me.
Yeah, thank you for leading these, Emily, and thank you everyone else for showing up and asking questions.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's fun, and I mean, people don't think of resumes as fun, but I actually like hearing other people's, views and what they think, and kind of discussing and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in, and I guess until next week, huh? All right, bye.
See ya.